You have this desire. If you say that I want to help humanity, it is a good desire, it is there, it is present, and it is in a lot of people. If you say that I want to do khidmat of my parents, it is a good desire, and this desire is present in many, many people. So good desire is also present in humans. If somebody says that I want to drink alcohol, it is a bad desire, it is there, it's present in humans. If somebody says that I want to steal stuff from here and there, that desire is there. If somebody says that I want to fornicate, that desire is present in humans. So good desire is also present in humans. Bad desire is also present in humans. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Successful is the one who purifies his desires. You have to understand one thing. Not all of us have the same types of desire. Different people have different things like decoration. Men are not as inclined towards these things as women are. That is why the decoration of the house, the clothes and all of these things, women just take care of these things in the family. Men take care of other things in the family. And these are all halal desires. This becomes the worst of all desires. That you start competing with others. His house is like this, so my house should be like this. His phone is like this, my phone should be exactly like this. His car is like this, so my car should also be like this. This is one of the worst desires that Allah mentions in the Quran. Allah says, Alhaakum Takasur. That this competing in worldly things is going to make you neglectful of Allah حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ, till you reach your graves. So not only that this is a desire of the soul, a bad desire of the soul, but Allah says that, there's very little cure for this desire. It is going to be with you till you enter into your graves. And the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam explained it a little bit more. He said that a person who has extreme desire for the things of this world, if he is given one full mountain full of gold, he's not going to stop there. He will desire that he should have another mountain full of gold. And the only thing that can fill up this man's stomach is the sand of his grave. So some people have this desire for the worldly things, and these worldly things are halal. But if this is the only thing that is left in your brain, then this desire is something that is going to take you away from Allah. Some people have desire for lust. And they're constantly thinking about these things, and these thoughts about, lust are just always ingrained in their mind. And if this is all that he's thinking about, again, this is a desire that is going to take him away from Allah. And these times that we are spending now is the time of lust. Because up to 15, 20 years ago, when the internet was not that strong, when there was no Facebook, and when there was no YouTube, and when there was none of these things, it was still difficult to do things which are against Islam in terms of lust. Now it is the easiest of things. And the reality is that sometimes these thoughts actually, they go into the minds of young people. And these young people, they are not able to do anything. They neither study because of this, and they neither work because of these things. And there's an internet research company by the name of Root. And this research company says that every day emails that contain pornographic material is sent from one place to the other, the amount of those emails is between 2 billion and 3 billion. Allah Akbar. Some people have desire for worldly things, some people have desire for lust. And some people have desire to speak all the time. We thought that speaking, there's nothing wrong with speaking. What's wrong with speaking? But sometimes if you want to speak all the time, and you want to talk all the time, and this is the only thing that you want to do, then this is also a desire. And most of the sins that we do are through this tongue. It is through this tongue that we lie. It is through this tongue that we backbite. Lying is such a big sin that the Prophet ﷺ said that the person who lies will never be close to Allah and His Messenger. Backbiting is such a big sin that the Messenger ﷺ said that backbiting is even worse than adultery. And then it is through this tongue that we cut off relations with our close relatives. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the one who breaks relations with his close relatives, Allah breaks relations with this person. It's with the tongue that we do these things. And it is this tongue through which we argue with each other. And this argument is actually a thing that is one of the worst desires. It makes your heart dead. The Prophet ﷺ said, I take responsibility of taking this person into Jannah who stops arguing. Even if he knows that he's right, he should stop arguing. I take responsibility of taking this man into Jannah. So we argue all the time. There's arguments going on in the house. There's argument going on in the office. Worst of all, arguments going on inside the masjid. So some people have some types of desires and some people have different types of desires. And some people have this desire to be angry. We think anger is not a desire. All these other things we might consider them desire. Anger we thought is what's wrong with anger? You could be angry every now and then. You could be angry every now and then. That is why if you do sins that have something to do with lust, we hide those sins. But if you're angry, you don't hide those sins. Okay, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with being angry. But if you look at the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, this anger is probably one of the worst sins that anyone can commit. The Messenger ﷺ said, Al-Ghazab yufsidul iman. This anger actually destroys your iman. If you're an angry person, there's no kafiyat, there's no emotion of iman left inside of you. And the Prophet ﷺ said that shaitan runs in the body of an angry person the way blood runs in his body. Allahu Akbar. And that is why the one who controls his anger is considered to be one of the best people in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ said the best one among you is the one for whom it takes a very long time to become angry. And it takes a very short time for him to leave his anger. And we think that, being angry is not a big sin. It is one of the worst desires that anybody could have. And when we are venting our anger, actually we are fulfilling this wrong desire that is inside of us. So some people have some sorts of desires. Some people have different types of desire. Some people are angry. Some people have this lust of the world. Some people have this lust for sex. Some people have this desire to always keep on talking. Different people have different types of desires. Some people have this desire for food. And that is what is going on all the time in their minds. Some young people are just always thinking about food. Of course, food is halal. All of us, we eat food. There's no one who doesn't eat food. But if this food is just what's going on in your mind all the time, then this food also becomes a desire. So a few years ago, I was here in the US, and there was a very big snowstorm on the east side. We used to live in New York and Philadelphia. And there was a very big snowstorm, and the state announced that it is an emergency, nobody should leave their homes. The snow is like 6-7 foot. So all the offices were closed, all the school colleges were closed, everything was closed. And nobody was allowed outside. So this was the announcement being made on television, that everything is closed, nobody should step outside. And then it snowed again. So next day, the government again announced that today is also a day of emergency, nobody should go out. And we had two friends, and all of us saw that they were wearing jackets, and they were wearing their shoes, and it seemed as if they were prepared to just leave. So we asked them, where are you guys planning to go? And the answer was, well, it has been 2 days and we haven't had chocolate. And there's no chocolate in the house, so we'll go outside, we'll risk our lives. Chocolate we must have. So some people have some types of desires, and some people have other types of desires. And there are some people who do not have any of these desires. They don't have this love of the worldly things, they don't have lust. They don't have desire to talk all the time. They don't have desire to be angry and all of these things. Desire to talk, the desire for food and all of this. Everything is in control. But they have one hidden desire, which is worse than all other desires. And what is that hidden desire? And that desire is the desire to be known, to be praised all the time. And this is one of the worst desires. And it is very natural for all of us to like being, talked about. It is very natural for us, all of us, to be very popular among people, and we like that, everybody should know us. But in the deen of Islam, this is also a bad desire. Because this leads a person into thinking that he is better than others. And Muslims are trained to think that we are not better than others. If Allah has given us something which makes us look better than others, it is only and only Allah's. It is only, praise be to Allah, it is only for Allah. It is only because of Allah. So a Muslim can never ever think that he is better than others. So this desire to be known, to be popular, to be praised, this desire is one of the worst desires. How bad is this desire? You can understand from this hadith of the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. That person is not even going to enter into Jannah, who has even an iota of arrogance inside of him. So some people have this desire. The question is that there's no way out of this. We have to purify all of these desires. ذَلِكَ جَزَاءُ مَنْ تَزَكَّى. Jannah is a place only for those who purified their souls, who purified their desires. So there's no option left. So the question is, how do we purify this desire? And the Mashaykh answered this question. One way of purifying this desire is to show willpower. And such a person has been praised by the Messenger, the one who shows willpower. For example, if you have this desire of sleeping and you don't wake up for Fajr prayers, and if you show your willpower and you say, okay, from tomorrow onwards, I will wake up for Fajr prayers. So showing this willpower is actually very light in Islam. The Prophet said, Al-Mujahid, that person is a Mujahid, Man jahada nafsahu fi ta'atillah, who goes against his desires in order to obey Allah. So the person who shows willpower is also very much light in Islam. One way of purifying this desire is to show willpower. That okay, fine, from today onwards I will never ever lie. From today onwards I will never misuse my eye. From today onwards I am never ever going to backbite. All of these things are good desires. And this is willpower. And Allah likes those who show willpower. There's a psychologist by the name of Dr. Emmons. And he did a research in willpower. And his research was based on young kids aged 6, 7 years of age. And he said that young kids like sweet things, like marshmallows. And he said that I gathered, he did a research on very few people, like about 50, 60, 70 of them. Then there were psychologists from New Zealand, and they did this test on 1,000 young kids. So they took 1,000 young kids, and they offered these young kids marshmallows. That you can have one marshmallow now, but if you control this desire for half an hour, after half an hour you're going to get 2 marshmallows. So this was offered to 1,000 kids. And out of these 1,000 kids, a lot of them did not even wait for this person to finish what he was saying, because there were marshmallows there, they just grabbed their marshmallow. These kids are just so crazy about these things. But there were some kids who showed this willpower. Okay, fine. So if I wait for half an hour and not eat this marshmallow, I'm going to get 2 marshmallows. So he said that I kept a record of those people who showed willpower and those young kids who did not show willpower. And he said that I tracked them for the next 35 years. And even more. Up to the time that these young kids passed through their adulthood and they were entering into old age. And I kept on interviewing these people. And I came to the conclusion that there are very big differences between those who showed willpower and those who did not show willpower. And he said that the first difference between those who did not show willpower and the ones who showed willpower was that those who did not show willpower were overweight. They would eat more. And the second difference, he said, that those who did not show willpower, they were less educated than those who showed willpower. Third difference, he said, those who did not show willpower, they had less average incomes. And those who showed willpower, they had more average incomes. And the fourth difference, he said, that those who did not show willpower, they were more prone to drug and alcohol addiction than those who showed willpower. And then he went on to say that the fifth difference between those who did not show willpower and the ones who showed willpower was that those who showed willpower were more divorced than the ones who did not show willpower. The ones who did show willpower. So generally, those who did not show willpower were single parents. They had children, but they were divorced. The lack of willpower actually destroyed the family as well, he said. And this is the difference between the two. He said that those who did not show willpower, they were more prone to committing crimes in the society than those who showed willpower. And then at the end of his research article, he writes that willpower is the single most important ingredient of success. And the same thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Successful is the one who purifies his soul, shows willpower. So one way of purifying this desire, these desires, is that you show willpower. But sometimes it is difficult to show willpower, and you end up falling again and again. So people ask this question, that is there any other way of somehow purifying the soul, some easy way? So the scholars have given us one more answer to this question. That what is this other easy way of purifying these desires? And the other easy way is to keep the company of those who have purified these desires. To keep the company of people who are pious, who are closer to Allah, who have control over themselves. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-mar'u ala dini khalilihi. That a person is going to be on the deen of his friend. So if you are friends with those people who are pious, who control themselves, who don't have all of these bad desires, then you can expect that you will be also on that same deen. If you have friends and you have people that you know, if you're close to those people, who are always committing sins, who are fulfilling all of their desires and all of their wrong desires, then you will end up being like them. So one easy way of changing these desires is just to be in the company of these pious people. And it has a very, very strong effect. Some parents are complaining that my child isn't praying, my child is doing all of these wrong things, and how am I supposed to, make him come to the right track and all of that? The scholar said it's very easy. Whether you're in the US or whether you're wherever you are, if you take your child in an environment which is a pious environment, an environment where he's being given good advice, at some point or the other, the heart is going to change. That is why the Messenger ﷺ said, "Alaykum bi majalis al-ulama as-salihin." It's incumbent upon you to go in the company of ulama and pious people in salihin. It's very strong hadith of the Messenger says. The Prophet says, you will be on the deen of your friend. And sometimes I used to think there could be somebody that he says, okay, fine, I have bad friends, but I myself will not do these bad things. But the reality is, if you go into bad company, you will end up being bad. And you go in the good company, no matter how bad of a person you are, you'll end up being good. So the company actually matters, wherever you are. Who you spend your time with really matters. So some parents are always fighting with their children. You should not be doing this. Why did you do this and why did you not do this? And it's fine, parents, we have to do all of this. But to bring change in their hearts, they have to be brought to Masjid and they have to be brought into good environment. That's the only way out. And some mashayikh, they have Allah has put such barakah in their words that their good advice sometimes once sitting with them changes the heart. And there have been such mashayikh, and there have been such scholars, one line had changed hearts. So there was a scholar by the name of Zazan, and Zazan became a very big sheikh, but initially he was on a wrong track. He used to sing, and he used to play this instrument, and he knew that this is wrong. And he was from the time, this was the time of the Sahaba. And he knew that, this is a sin I should not be doing, but he enjoyed it so much. And people used to listen to him, they used to praise him, so he liked that as well. So he could not leave this sin. But he made sure that whenever he would sing and whenever he would play this instrument, he would do it away from his, away from pious people. So one day he was singing and he was playing this instrument, and there were people sitting listening to him and enjoying themselves and all of that. And he saw that there was this one very pious looking man walking right close by. So his whole attention turned towards that guy. But why did he came to our, this musical program? And he was feeling very embarrassed because he always made sure that this doesn't happen in front of, pious people. And then this man was walking very slowly. And his whole attention was towards this man. His attention had turned from singing and all of that to this man. And finally he saw that this man just stood there and he started saying something. So now he thought that this man is probably very angry at me for singing and playing this music. And he's probably giving me some bad applause or something like that. So he became very upset. Finally, he said to these guys sitting, listening to him, that I am done for today. You guys can leave today. And if I get a chance, maybe I will, sing for you again, if I get a chance. So everybody left. Then he got up and he walked to the person who was all the way at the end. And he went up to him and he asked him, who was this man? And this pious man walking, he looks like a very big scholar. He said, you don't know who this was? He said, no, I don't know who this was. He said, this was Abdullah ibn Masud. He was one of the companions of the Messenger. He said, Allahu Akbar. This was the companion of the Messenger. And I was doing all of this. He get very sad. He said, I always wished that none of these pious people would look at me doing this. Then he said, okay, well, he stood here saying something. What was he saying? Was he saying something about me? He said, yes, he was saying something about you. He stood here and he said, and he listened to what you were singing. So then he said, what a beautiful voice this is. And then he said, I wish this voice was used for the recitation of the Quran. Allah. Now when he heard this, tears started flowing from his eyes. That look what dua he has given to me. That I wish his voice was used for the recitation of the Quran. So then he asked him, where does Abdullah ibn Masud live? He said he lives around that area. So he went to Abdullah ibn Masud's house and he knocked on the door. And the Shaykh came out. He said, Shaykh, you know who I am? I'm the one who was singing. And I'm the one about whom you said that I wish his voice was used for the recitation of the Quran. So today I am promising you and I am promising Allah that this voice will only and only be used for the recitation of the Quran. So sometimes only one line from a pious man, from good company, can actually change this heart, can change the desire inside of you. So what is the way to change these desires? One of the ways is to show willpower. And if willpower is a difficult thing, then we keep the company of pious people. It's an easier thing to do. And then there is an even more easy thing, right? And what is that even more easy thing? To change the heart, to change these desires. And that even more easy thing is to make a dua to Allah. Prophet ﷺ said, the one for whom Allah opens the doors of dua, Allah also opens the doors of mercy for that person. So if you feel that, okay, these are the bad desires inside of me, I should get rid of them, and you make dua for them, then there will come a day when these bad desires will go away. And I will narrate to you a story of this businessman from Karachi, Pakistan. And these are his own words. And he used to say, and he said this, he said that some people have some types of desires and some people have other desires. My desire was alcohol. I just used to love alcohol. And he said that it was not as if I was known as an alcoholic. People used to consider me as a very pious man because I had a beard and I had a lot of wealth, so I would go to the Haramain, I would go to Makkah and Medina maybe twice, sometimes even 3 times a year, and perform Umrah. But my love for alcohol was such that sometimes after performing Umrah, if I'm coming back on an airline which is serving alcohol, even at that time I would desire that I should just drink some. And he said one day the whole family planned that we will go for Umrah. And the morning that we were supposed to leave to go for Umrah, that whole night I spent drinking alcohol with friends. At Fajr time, I came back home and my wife saw me that I was drunk, completely wasted. And my wife actually looked at me and said, that what are you? What a bad person you are. That Allah has given you the opportunity of visiting His house in the morning, and the night before that you're spending in this way. And these are his words. He said, I said, shut up to my wife. Because I was so wasted. And she kept quiet. And then after a couple of hours, we were wearing ihram to go to the airport. And when I was putting on my ihram, this alcohol had not even left my body. And then I went to the airport in Karachi, and then I took a flight from Karachi to Makkah, Karachi to Jeddah. He said in the afternoon we were all at Jeddah, and at Asr time the whole family was in Makkah. And we went to the hotel room and we put all of our stuff in the hotel, and then the whole family went inside the haram to perform Umrah. He said again, when I entered the haram, and there were thousands of people there. And this thought came in my mind that there are thousands and thousands of Muslims here. Nobody's as bad as I am. Nobody has done the sin that I have done. And he said, I did my Umrah in a very sad and disappointed. I was very upset with myself. But what can I do? How can I control this desire? This desire is not in my control. What can I do? So he said, we did the tawaf, and we did the sa'i, and then my kids and my wife, they said to me that we need to go back to the hotel room. And I said, okay, you guys go, I need to stay here. And I stayed there. And I was looking at the house of Allah. And I said to myself, what am I going to tell Allah? I've said so many times to Allah that, okay, Allah, I'm going to leave this, but I never leave this sin. I just did not overcome this desire. He said, I don't know what happened to me. I have been making du'as for so many years. I just cannot leave this. He said, I don't know what happened to me, and I walked up. I got up and I walked into the house of Allah. And I went to the door of the Kaaba. And I held the door of the Bayt Allah. And then he said, and there I made this dua. And listen to the words of this dua. He said, oh Allah, I am not here to tell you that I'm going to leave this sin. Because I've said this many, many times. I never leave this sin. Oh Allah, I am telling you this, that if you want me to leave this sin, then I am offering myself to leave this sin. And he said that it has been 17 years now since I made this dua, in 17 years, I haven't had alcohol even once. So one way of purifying this desire is to make dua for these bad desires that we have. So there's no option left for us. We have to do something about these desires. So make dua for Allah, that may Allah help us to purify our bad desires, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgive us the sins that we do, and may Allah make us among those who have been forgiven by Allah. Make a short dua, inshallah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya'i wal mursaleen. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammadin wa barik wa sallim. اے اللہ ہم آپ کے عاجز مسکین بندے ہیں، اللہ ہمارے گناہ کو معاف فرما، ہماری خطاؤں سے درگزر فرما، ہمارے عیبوں کی پردہ پوشی فرما، اللہ برے دن سے محفوظ فرما، اللہ بری رات سے محفوظ فرما، میرے مالک برے کاموں سے محفوظ فرما، اے اللہ برے انجام سے محفوظ فرما، اللہ ہدایت ملنے کے بعد گمراہی سے محفوظ فرما، سیدھا رستہ ملنے کے بعد بھٹکنے سے محفوظ فرما، اللہ اپنا قرب حاصل ہو جانے کے بعد اپنی دوری سے محفوظ فرما، اللہ نعمتیں مل جانے کے بعد نعمتوں کے چھن جانے سے محفوظ فرما، اللہ عزتیں ملنے کے بعد ذلت سے محفوظ فرما، میرے مالک ڈر ڈر کے دھکے کھانے سے محفوظ فرما، اللہ نفس و شیطان کے مکر و فریب سے محفوظ فرما، اللہ نفس و شیطان کی مکر و فریب سے محفوظ کرنا، اے اللہ آپ کو ناراض نہیں کرنا چاہتے، میرے مالک تیرے کمزور بندے ہیں، اے اللہ کبھی ہماری خواہشات ہمیں غلط راستوں پہ ڈال دیتی ہے، اللہ کبھی شیطان ہمیں غلط راستوں پہ ڈال دیتا ہے، اے اللہ ہمارے لیے گناہ چھوڑنا بڑا مشکل کام ہو گیا، اللہ آپ کے لیے گناہ چھپانا آسان ہے، گناہگاری میں کب تک عمر کاٹوں، گناہگاری میں کب تک عمر کاٹوں، بدل دے میرا رستہ دل بدل دے، خواہ حرص والا دل بدل دے، میرا غفلت میں ڈوبا دل بدل دے، اللہ رحمت کا معاملہ فرما، اللہ اٹھے ہوئے ہاتھوں کی لاج فرما، میرے مالک میں نیک نہ بن سکا، اللہ تیرے نیکوں میں آ کے بیٹھ گیا، اللہ نیک نہ بن سکا، اللہ تیرے نیک بندوں میں آ بیٹھا، اللہ ان نیکوں کی برکت سے اللہ ہمیں بھی نیکی نصیب کرنا، اللہ ان نیکوں کی برکت سے اللہ ہمارے بھی مردہ دلوں کو زندہ فرما، اللہ ان نیکوں کی برکت سے اللہ ہماری بھی خواہشات کو پاک فرما، اے اللہ ان نیکوں کی برکت سے اللہ ہمیں بھی اپنی محبت کا ایک قطرہ نصیب فرما، اللہ اپنے پیارے محبوب کی محبت نصیب فرما، اللہ نماز کی حضوری نصیب فرما، اللہ سجدے کا سرور نصیب فرما، اللہ رات کے آخری پہر کے مناجات کی لذت نصیب فرما، میرے مالک جنہوں نے دعاؤں کے لیے کہا اللہ ان کو بھی دعاؤں میں شامل فرما، اللہ جہاں جہاں مسلمان پریشانی کے عالم میں ہے اللہ ان کی پریشانیوں کو دور فرما، اللہ جو گھر بار کی وجہ سے پریشان اللہ ان کی پریشانیوں کو دور فرما، اللہ جو کام کاروبار کی وجہ سے پریشان اللہ ان کی پریشانیوں کو بھی دور فرما، اللہ جو اولاد کی وجہ سے پریشان اللہ ان کی پریشانیوں کو بھی دور فرما، اللہ اولاد کے غم سے محفوظ فرما، اللہ اولاد کے دکھوں سے محفوظ فرما، اللہ جو اپنی صحت کی وجہ سے پریشان اللہ ان کی پریشانیوں کو بھی دور فرما، میرے مالک بچہ جب پریشان ہوتا ہے ماں باپ کی طرف دوڑتا ہے، اللہ بندہ جب پریشان ہوتا ہے پروردگار کی طرف لوٹتا ہے، اے بے قصوں کے دستگیر، اے ٹوٹے دلوں کو تسلی دینے والے، اے خالی جھولیوں کو مشکل میں پڑے ہو کو مشکل سے نکال دینے والے، اے زمین اور آسمان کی خزانوں کی چابیوں والے، مالک رحمت کا معاملہ فرما، اللہ اٹھے ہوئے ہاتھوں کی لاج فرما، میرے مالک اس بندے پہ کوئی حسرت نہیں تو کسی اور در سے خالی ہاتھ اٹھ جائے، اللہ حسرت اس پر ہے جو یہاں آپ کے در پہ آیا اور یہاں سے بھی خالی ہاتھ لوٹ گئے، خالی ہاتھ لوٹ کے سے محفوظ فرما، اٹھے ہوئے ہاتھوں کی لاج فرما، میرے مالک اٹھے ہوئے ہاتھوں کی لاج فرما، اے اللہ جنہوں نے دعاؤں کے لیے کہا اللہ ان کو بھی دعاؤں میں شامل فرما، میرے مالک کرم کے فیصلے فرما، اے اللہ ہمارے گناہوں کی نحوست کی وجہ سے اللہ ہماری ان دعاؤں کو رد نہ فرما، اے اللہ آپ کے تو ہمارے جیسے اربوں کربوں ہیں، میرے مالک ہمارا آپ کے سوا کوئی نہیں، اللہ اپنے در سے دور نہ فرما، اے اللہ ہماری دعاؤں کو رد نہ فرما، میرے مالک رحمت کا معاملہ فرما، اللہ رحمت کا معاملہ فرما، اللہ ہمارے تینوں حرم کی حفاظت فرما، اللہ ہمارے اس ملک کی حفاظت فرما، اے اللہ ہمیں بار بار اپنے گھر کا دیدار نصیب فرما، اللہ اپنے پیارے محبوب کے در کی حاضری نصیب فرما، اے اللہ ہمارے عزیز اقارب، رشتہ دار، مشائخ، اساتذہ، والدین جو بھی اس دنیا سے فوت ہو چکے ہیں، جو حیات ہے، اللہ ان سب کی مغفرت فرما، اللہ جن کی مغفرت فرما دی اپنے قرب کے اعلیٰ درجات نصیب فرما، میرے مالک اس مسجد مدرسے پہ اپنی خاص رحمتیں برکتیں نازل فرما، اللہ ہر وہ شخص جو یہاں حاضر ہو اللہ اس کے سینے کو تقویٰ سے منور فرما، میرے مالک جنہوں نے آج اس پروگرام کو رکھوانے میں اے اللہ تعاون کیا، انتظام کیے، اے اللہ ان کو بھی اپنی طرف سے بہترین اجر و بدلہ نصیب فرما، میرے مالک ہمارے عزیز اقارب، رشتہ دار، مشائخ، اساتذہ، والدین جو بھی اس دنیا سے فوت ہو چکے ہیں، جو حیات ہے، اللہ ان سب کی مغفرت فرما، اللہ جن کی مغفرت فرما دی اپنے قرب کے اعلیٰ درجات نصیب فرما، ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم تب علينا انك انت التواب الرحيم، وصلى الله تعالى على حبيبه سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين.
Inshallah, Azhar Tour 2022, Azhar will be traveling to San Francisco Bay Area between October 4th to October 11th, and after that, the tour will be on Los Angeles between October 11th to October 17th, and then that is October 17th to October 23rd. Those who would like to get in touch with Azhar, or anyone would like to know about the upcoming details of the tour, you can provide me or Shiraz your contact number, and we can add you in the WhatsApp group, inshallah.
Our beloved Imam Tawqir has requested that I should recite this one nasheed, so I will recite a few verses of this nasheed. हिर्स वाला दिल बदल दे, हवा हिर्स वाला दिल बदल दे, मेरा गफलत में डूबा दिल बदल दे, बदल दे दिल की दुनिया, दिल बदल दे, बदल दे दिल की दुनिया, दिल बदल दे, करम फरमा खुदाया दिल बदल दे मेरा रास्ता दिल बदल दे सुनूं मैं नाम तेरा धड़कनों में सुनूं मैं नाम तेरा धड़कनों में मजा आ जाए मौला दिल बदल दे तेरा हो जाऊं इतनी आरज़ू है तेरा हो जाऊं इतनी आरज़ू है बस इतनी है तमन्ना दिल बदल दे मेरी फरियाद सुन ले मेरे मौला मेरी फरियाद सुन ले मेरे मौला बना ले अपना बंदा दिल बदल दे जो तेरा सामना हो रोज़े महशर